Welcome to tonight's program. My name is Neria Leiva Gutierrez, and I am NOMA's Executive Director. And I am so thrilled for this program tonight, which celebrates the 11th Annual Women in the Heights exhibition, curated by the extraordinary Andrea Arroyo and supported in part by the Department of Cultural Affairs. For those of you who were here last week, and I see so many of you for our opening reception, I'm sure you all agree that the coming together of these artists and their works right now in this virtual space is inspiring and uplifting. Last week, we had the honor of hearing from each artist who spoke thoughtfully about her work and how the theme of light and dark and in and out informed the process and their pieces. Despite the audience of over 80 people, the event was intimate and powerful and a clear reminder of the transformative nature of art. Today, we are back to delve a little deeper as we listen to 7 of these wonderful artists who will spend a little more time talking about their pieces and their process as they chat with Andrea in what promises to be a stirring and moving dialogue. And I encourage you all to ask questions. Any questions that you might have throughout the evening, please place them in the chat. And after the artists speak, you will have a chance to ask your questions of the artists as well. I am looking forward to this dialogue this evening. And so now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to turn the evening over to Andrea. Andrea.
Thank you so much, Neria. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the 11th Annual Women in the Heights. Thank you, Neria, for your leadership. Thank you, Michelle, for your skills in terms of tech and just bringing us together in this virtual world. And thank you, artists, for making the world better. Yes. Also, thank you, audience. Thank you for joining us and welcome. I have asked some of the artists to speak briefly about their work, so we're going to do that. Before that, I just want to say thank you to every artist who has participated in this show and the first show and the second and all of the shows. Some of the artists have participated in all of them. Some of them are new to us, so we're very glad to meet them, to have them to host their work. When I brought this project to NOMA, I knew that Upper Manhattan had a lot of talent. But every year we are just delighted to present even a larger variety and a higher quality of work. So this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for the audience and for the artists to create community, to connect with each other, and to just create art, create a beautiful, beautiful light at the end of the tunnel. The theme of the show is in and out, dark and light. We are in the midst of the pandemic, 1 year in, and we find ways to get in and get out of spaces, of physical spaces, of mental spaces. We find ways to find light and to find dark when we need to. So the artists have interpreted this theme in a beautiful way. So without further ado, I'm going to start asking the artists to just speak briefly about their work. So we're going to start with Kathleen Campbell. Hello, Kathleen.
Hello, Andrea.
Yes.
First, I want to say thank you once again for including my works. I'm really honored to be part of this exhibit. And I'm really happy and proud to be part of this community. All right, I've lived here a very, very long time. And one of the things that was just said in the opening remarks about artists trying to make the world better is actually absolutely one of the things I believe in very strongly. And I think that, it's been shown the past year, we dealt with everything from the pandemic to the threat of Trump being reelected, because that's one of the things we forget, but he actually got 73 million votes, if you can imagine, okay, in the past election, after knowing what the Trump administration had been. And so that when movements like Black Lives Matter, I don't know if you can see my photograph, which was a child looking outside a window down at the Black Lives Matter mural that was at 125th and 7th Avenue, artists immediately came to be part of the protest movement coming out of after the death of George Floyd. The murals, whether they were painted on the streets or painted on walls, or even the signs. One of the most famous images of George Floyd is actually an artist-created painting that people carried around as a protest sign. But artists immediately were trying to see, how can I, as an artist, contribute to this, not just as somebody else on the picket line, but using my art in service of trying to make the world better. So in my particular piece, you can see it later. It's on the postcard. It's on the lower left-hand side to the theme for in and out. Literally, this little boy is inside looking out, but also we as, you know, as a people straddling a line between inside and outside of mainstream society, out of the whole, you know, power imbalance between people of color and the, you know, mainstream society, and dark and light. The theme is absolutely from the darkness of the murders that brought people out protesting onto the streets. The lightness was artists who were trying to say, we're with you, okay? We don't just want to participate. We want to lift you up, okay? That's what we're here for. So I would like to say that. And then the other last thing, since I don't want to run too much time, we have a lot of other people, but really one of the nice things about Women in the Heights is that, you know, relationships with other artists are being created. I collaborated with one of the other artists, whose name is Selena Hernandez, who's a poet, who I know is also on this call. And I met Selena as a result of us both participating in another Women in the Heights exhibit. So, you know, I hope to participate in another one in the future, but I'm really proud to have been part of this one and grateful. So I thank you very much. And if we have time later, I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sky? Hi, Sky.
Hi, Andrea. I'm Sky Pape, and hello to everyone again. Thank you again to Andrea and Michelle and Noma and Miria and the other artists and everyone else who's joining us tonight. I'm really glad to be here with you all. And my public speaking skills are really far from stellar, so for letting me practice facing down my fears of speaking by talking tonight. My piece in the show is called Other People's Children. And it's a pretty large piece, around 51 inches square, mostly ink on paper, that's it there, with a wooden wand that I painted and inserted into loops in the bottom. And as I said before, the spark for this piece really began when I was walking in the woods up here and found this lost toy wand and picked it up and kind of just loved the idea of things falling out of place in one world and into finding a place in another world. And this kind of happenstance to me sort of is a way of, it's a form of connection. And a lot of my work deals with interconnection. I feel like I'm connected within my own family and as part of this community. And whether or not I have children myself, and it happens that I do not, I recognize an important connection to the children of others who are our collective future. And that my thinking in these times, of course, encompasses, you know, the children who are separated at the borders, the children who are disappeared, the most vulnerable ones of the future of our species, but also as a metaphor, not just us, but the babies of the species of other living things on this planet and how we're all connected. And in this piece, there's sort of a snowflake patterning here, repetitions that are similar, but they're all unique, like because of the handmade quality of it. There's, and sometimes it even breaks the patterns completely, which I find myself considering ideas of difference and conformity within a structure. And I work in series, so this piece is part of a bigger series that I'm working on called Anomalies, where I'm relating repetition and geometry to concerns that I have about structural and systemic instability as well as resilience. So as we all know, we're facing some really big, overwhelming issues in our times, mass extinctions, social inequity, our teetering democracy, and this endless pandemic that we're still in the middle of. And I find that looking at these patterns and systems is a way that gives me some clues for understanding these systems that are verging on cataclysm is sort of the word that comes to mind. And patterns, abstract patterns, they're really rich visually and historically and metaphorically. And again, I come across the use of patterns as the basis for the way that we as humans interpret our universe through our senses and science and cultures across the world. So in these works, there's both intentional and unintentional irregularities that start to reveal levels of tolerance for difference or tolerance for corruption in patterns, tipping points between stability and collapse, and that kind of dance we're always doing between continuity and uncertainty that is everywhere in our interconnected existence. So this is my lens looking at the world, and it always comes back and again and again to questions of interconnectivity when I'm asking myself those big questions.
Thank you, Sky. Thank you so much. Wilhelmina?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Michelle, Andrea, Neria, everyone at NOMA. Greetings, all of the artists and guests. Thanks for being here tonight. The piece that I submitted and that was shown is called Reparations. It's my first and only found object altered book. And it's also one of those pieces that took me about 3 years to complete. And that's funny because last year's piece that was in this exhibition called, I forget the name of it, but that one also took me 3 years to complete. So what it has on it, in it, coming from the inside out, on the base of it is a US flag, and it's an actual flag. No, I didn't destroy a flag. I actually rescued the flag. It's something that I found outside on the ground in the street, and it was tattered. It looked like a flag that had blown off of someone's car. You know how they had aerials with the flags for a bit. So I saved it, and it eventually ended up in some art. And I put it underneath a book that I hollowed out the front of it, and it seemed to fit with America's Own Story. I put 2 of my favorite heroines on there, and I let it sit for a long time because I couldn't figure out what else to do with it to make it complete. So a couple of years in, I picked it up, looked at it, didn't have any answer. I put it right back, let it rest. Then I found some shredded dollars. These are dollars that go to the mint and they get shredded when they get too old. Dollar bills, I don't know what denomination they are, but they are shredded money. So I said, oh, that looks like something that would fit right nicely in this piece. And also cotton, because both of these women, even though they lived 100 years apart, both picked cotton. So I put that in there, and then I found a lock and chain, and the lock had US on it. And I said, wow, how appropriate. So I fiddled around with it and put things in different places until it sort of fit how I thought it would read, but it still wasn't complete to me. And then earlier this year, I found a frame, and then I said, well, I can't give Fannie Lou Hamer a frame and not give Harriet Tubman a frame. So I kept looking, and I found a rusty top of it looks like a candy tin or something like that. And I turned it upside down and pasted that down on top of Harriet Tubman's face. And then I said, voila, it's complete. The last thing I did to it was I took it to be framed, and I put a piece of plexiglass on top of it so that people wouldn't, in viewing it, touch the cotton or touch the money, because art is not really meant to be manipulated as such, but people can't resist touching things. So I put some plexiglass on top. So that's from the in all the way out. And that's about all I have to say about that one. Thank you
Thank
for
you
your
so much.
time. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Wilhelmina. That was great. Thank you. Next, we have Lilia Levin. Hi, Lilia. Is Lilia here?
I'm here. I'm here.
Go ahead.
Hi. Um, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Andrea. I'm rushing myself trying to fit into the 4 minutes. Thank you, Noma. I've been in these shows probably for 9 of the 11 years. Love them, so honored. And I could sign on to everything the previous speakers were saying, so I'm not going to repeat it about the amazing, incredible, and difficult times we're living through. And this is the piece that's in the show. It's pen and ink, and it's windows and folds in various ways, in disarray, in in turmoil, with memories of things that they saw, that they witnessed, and a glass there's a glass here that's empty glass that's kind of also a witness to history. And I just wanted to very quickly say that for many years, I did mostly figurative paintings and drawings. And I realized later that in every single one of them, there was a window. And then I started drawing more semi-abstract pieces like this, or even more abstract, like one window and a lot of shapes. And I realized that windows became my main characters. Yeah, like something like this. Because to me, the window is a very meaningful object, and it's also the ultimate symbol or metaphor. The window is a way in or out, and it's an opening to let light or darkness in or out. This is one of the earlier figurative ones with windows in the back. And in that, I thought this drawing really fit with the theme of the show. I had, not this one, the first one, yeah. I had done most of it before the pandemic, and then kind of changed it and altered it a little bit after. And the line in the bottom third is sort of the before and after. I explored the unconsciously, not really consciously, just my hand draws what my mind says to draw. And then I kind of, if I think and interpret later, I realized that during this whole pandemic, I continued to explore, just really like feel like exploring and thinking and living through these windows, because we opened windows at 7 p.m. to bang on our pots for months. We saw windows of restaurants go dark and windows of stores we know and love go dark, and it was heartbreaking. And then during the summer, we saw broken windows and, in a heartbreaking way, boarded up windows. And all of it meant to me that we shared our lives with the life and the rhythms of our community. And also, I got a window, literally this summer, I got a window into a deeper window, wider, into what people were talking about before, so I won't repeat it, into the social situation. I mean, it was things I knew, but they came crashing down. I know what this means. This means I should be stopping.
Thank you.
So there. And in terms of technique, it's pen and ink. And I've started these are very small. And during the pandemic, I've started drawing longer, slower, more involved paintings with more cross hatching. And that way sort of reflecting more.
Thank you, Lilia. Thank you so much. Denise, we have Denise Penizzotto.
Hi, everyone. Yes, hello and thank you. I am Denise, and my painting is called Hierophany. I'm waiting to see it. Yes, there it is. Thank you. This is Hierophany. So I started this painting at the Met Museum. I was part of the Met Copyist program, and I was able to sit in front of this Hydra, the vase, the center point of this painting, in the Greek and Roman wing. And as I was sitting there around all this ancient history, I was thinking about the connections that people have made throughout history, the connections with the spirit, particularly because I was sitting amongst mostly funerary items, particularly such as this Hydra and many other funeral items that were intended to help, to guide, or to assist people into the afterlife, particularly with the Roman and the Greek wings. And then COVID-19 came and closed the Met. And so I brought this piece home to continue working on it. And I kept thinking about the connection of spirit and self, and particularly at the time when New York City was experiencing the highest death rates for COVID-19. And so here I was with this image of a funerary item, and thinking about that COVID and how I can make these connections to hope and spirituality. And I was reminded for some reason of Géricault's famous painting, The Raft of Medusa. And this came to mind, and I recognized how Géricault paid a lot of attention to painting this raft. It was a true happening that had occurred, and the raft was built to save the few remaining survivors from this real life event. And so I included it as this sort of somewhat precarious platform, but also too, there's a stability to it at the same time. And that's kind of how I was feeling about this conduit between this in and out, light and shadow, how we were all experiencing this time with COVID-19. And so I included the raft. And then also too, I added the very Giotto Italian Renaissance angels in there as a sort of guide, a sensation to the relief that we were also feeling, and the hope that we were also feeling as things were getting better through COVID-19. So it's really very metaphorical, this painting. It's telling a story that brings the ancient history into the present.
Thank you so much, Denise. Thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you.
And we have Jessica Mafia. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. And I'm honored to be in such wonderful company tonight. So the piece I included in this show is part of a long-term series of self-portraits that are life-size silhouettes, in which each one has a different element from nature that I use as a metaphor to express my inner nature. This particular one is drawn in charcoal on very heavy duty watercolor paper. And the genesis for this series came when I was on my first solo hike in the mountains behind my mother's house in Vermont. And I was wrestling with some inner demons, and it just occurred to me that it was time to use my art to wrestle with them. So the series is really a kind of journey of radical self-acceptance. And it began with a piece called The Sea Within, which is also, they're all life-size, some are a little bit larger, drawing where well, it's that one on the left there. So it's a pencil drawing of the Hudson River filling my body. And I feel it kind of encapsulates the series. It's a very neutral pose, but with a lot going on, tumultuous interior. And so I would work on this, as I went along the series, I would work with more challenging material, and then I wanted it to be like a full spectrum, not just like the challenging or the traumatic. So there, the next piece I did was that black standing body, which is me in a Qigong pose, Qigong being the ancient traditional Chinese healing art of energy work. So that's a particular pose, and I've marked out the energy pathways, the meridians in gold paint on the body. And then I worked on I got a vision of using a powerful predatory bird in one of the pieces. It's not something that had previously resonated with me, but I spoke to a dear friend of mine who is a shaman and who walked me through an Andean yogic exercise to find out what my power bird is, which involved creating a fire bridge from my head to the sun. And the bird came and walked down and sat on my head. And I just kind of like was able to feel and see it in scratchy details. So I saw that it had these bushy eyebrows and a white breast with brown flecks and brown wings with white flecks and very strong talons. And I asked an ornithologist friend of mine, can you ID this bird? And he said, it sounds like a juvenile northern goshawk. So I looked it up. It looked like the bird that I was feeling on my head. And I worked with that. So that's a very large scale piece it's a water-based photo transfer, which I don't have time, I think, to explain that process here. But that piece was very powerful and laid a strong foundation for me to then work with even more challenging materials. So I did one piece that was made out of pokeweed berry, that sort of bright pink magenta one. Pokeweed is this native plant that grows everywhere, and if prepared properly, could be medicinal and edible, like in poke salad, or it could kill you. It could be poisonous.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you. We have next Kiri Avelar. Hi, Kiri.
Thank you. Hi, Andrea. Thank you so much for having me this evening. And it's a pleasure to be here. I'm new to the NOMA community, so it's wonderful to be surrounded by these incredible women artists. As an interdisciplinary artist, I've been really focusing around screen dance the last few years and really find that it expands my choice making by just providing more options to choose from as I explore intersectionality of identity in my work. And for me, screen dance also holds multiple ways to either layer or extract from the art my creative practice, which speaks to the complex layers of our identities, a central theme in my artistry. For example, here, this is another image from Mestiza Consciousness, the cutting of the cilantro with a taconeo and the sound of the flamenco footwork or the zapateado in the same visual space. And the particular image that was chosen for this exhibition is from the screen dance titled Mestiza Consciousness. And it's inspired by the work of Chicana feminist scholar, Gloria Anzaldúa, and also by Mexican-American choreographer, Michelle Manzanales. And so this image really speaks for me to the intersection of the body, of food, of cultura, of rhythm, and of labor, and considers gesture, symbols, and sounds of the in-between space. In relationship to the theme of in and out and light and dark, I was thinking around the liminal space that we reside in as Latinx artists, and also this idea of two words and word choice, and how as artists creating through the Mestiza consciousness, this in-between space of choices and cultures and practices can exist in our work. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiri. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. So I think we have all of the artists speaking for now. I would like to ask a couple of questions to some of the other artists that we have in the call. Do we have Lindell? Are you here? Are you with us? I don't see Lindell, but in the meantime, how about I ask Diana? Oh, you are there, Lindell. Hi, how are you?
I'm sorry. I would like to speak just a little bit to say, well, first, thank you. And it's an amazing artist. I'm really impressed. And I don't know why I should be. Women are amazing. But thank you all for your incredible work and your dedication to your art. Because I did want to say just a little something about, I was trying to get out last time when I was talking about work, and that was about the process. I'm kind of interested in other artists, what they have to say about their process. But for me, if I said like 3 things that were really important about my process, maybe it's proportions, like I'm a representational painter, oil on, kind of old fashioned oil on canvas, but I've always painted that way. So I'm not giving up it now. And then there's a flow kind of thing. There's the structure, the proportions, the flow, and then I look for beautiful accidents that sort of happen with the paint. And I really like it, but I getting to the process part of it. You know, we work as artists, we work and we work. And I think the working every day is a really therapeutic way to work through sort of hard spots or difficulties even in our lives. And I really lean on my art in a lot of ways that help me to grow. And I feel that the process and how the process actually has cascaded into other parts of my life, just understanding that, you know, when you're chopping the onions for dinner, it's about the process of making dinner that allows you to enjoy the moments of that are so important, because we're always like wondering and worrying about the future, or thinking about what messed us up from the past, or those good things that we used to have in the past, whatever. But it's the process. And that's also really helped me during these kind of crazy times, because we're so isolated sometimes. So I'm interested if anybody else has anything to say about the process for them.
Thank you. And that leads me to a question. I think Patricia is here, right? Patricia Miranda. I was interested in knowing more about your process and the concept of light and dark in the textiles that you dye for your pieces. Is Patricia here?
Yeah.
Hi, Patricia. I see you
sorry,
now.
I couldn't unmute myself. Hi, everyone. So amazing to be with all these incredible uptown women. Such an inspiration. Yeah, I work a lot with natural dyes and pigments, especially ones that have really long histories, because I think of the way that a material communicates its history and carries along with it the whole cultural history, like the pieces that I've been working with cochineal, which is an insect dye indigenous to the Mesoamerican people. So there's many, many layers of history that happen in the in those works, and also with the lace in using found lace and donated lace. People have been sending me boxes of lace, and I think of these works as kind of shrouds or mourning, sort of mourning textiles, if you will. This is a small one, but many of them are very large. So they often have ex votos or milagros or small sort of body forms that I create hanging on them. So I think of the material as, I don't know, speaking its voice. The cochineal, the earth colors that I use are kind of that natural world kind of crying out, along with, you know, along with us, I think would be what I would say.
Thank you, Patricia. That was great. I also have a question for Diana about process. Can you tell us a little bit about your process? Your pieces are black and white, right? Is it a drawing or painting?
That's a drawing, which I love to do. I don't usually show my drawings, but I happen to really like this piece. Usually I laser cut like the stuff behind me. I usually paint and then cut text into it. But with this piece, I really didn't want to cut anything into it. I did it when we first shut down. And I don't know, it's just, it felt like very like human to me. I can't really explain it, but I wanted to leave it as is. I feel like the message is very clear.
Thank you,
I'm
Diana.
not sure if I answered your question, but thanks, Andrea.
Is it just it's a pencil on paper?
Oh yeah, it's graphite. It's just
Graphite.
like very soothing to draw. I feel like, yeah.
Great, thank you. I have a question for, just a quick question for Kathleen. We saw some of your work, and do you usually do street photography? Is that most of what you do?
I love street photography. I mean, I do some other things, but one of the things I really love about street photography is that, it connects me to the community. And, I'm able to show, it's one of the ways I show my love for the community. Okay. You've seen some of my other portraits, and I just, as much as Harlem is a well-known community, there's also a surprising degree of invisibility for the people. And I love going up to people who don't expect their picture to be taken and convincing them, yes, you are beautiful. Can I please take your picture? Okay. And just the whole exchange that happens, in that encounter is something that I think I get more out of, I'm ashamed to say, than the person whose portrait is being taken, even though they like the portraits. I mean, I'm just getting something out of the entire experience, and the art is actually only a part of that entire experience.
I agree.
Wonderful. Another quick question for Elle. You did a couple of ceramic pieces that are very much light and dark. Can you tell us a little bit about that process? And also if you work on those pieces at the same time or at different times?
Yes, hi. Yes, I discovered glazing last year, actually, just after being ill and not being able to sculpt. And suddenly I pushed myself to go to a sculpture studio, and I found glazing, and it opened this amazing world. And I do work a couple pieces at a time. But what is really interesting is that the white one was just before the pandemic, is the last piece actually that I did before the pandemic. And when I got stuck into the house and the little kitchen table, right? My main things, like coming from pain, I could feel the pain of people being sick. And somehow I wanted to, in a weird way, alleviate the pain of the suffering of like the energy. So each stroke was like a way of digging. I don't know if you could see, but my work has a lot of open spaces, and so dark and lights. It's really like going deep and deep. And to me, it's going deep into your soul and trying to dig the darkness and then come out into the light and see the light shining and trying to send this beautiful energy out there. So, but yeah, I do work on many pieces at a time, and then so it balances this dark energy and the light energy, because that's so much you can take, right?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Maybe we should open the floor to questions from either some of the artists who are here or the audience. Niria, if you want to ask a question, that'll be great. We can see each other now.
Hi.
Hi, Niria.
Hi. This is so wonderful. And listening to all of you, I'm also so moved by your not just your process, but your reflections and you're sort of making, one of the things I've always said about artists is that, it's sort of, your job to make sense of the universe, right? To give expression to what people are feeling, what they're thinking, how they're living. And it's so, wonderful to hear you all at this very moment where giving expression to something that has been so heavy and that has been so protracted, right? Because we're a year in. I mean, it's when I think to myself, you know, we've been at this for a year. That weight is sometimes suffocating. I wonder, you know, and Al, you sort of brought this up a minute ago. I wonder for some of you, for all of you, what was that about face like? You know, you were working on something before the pandemic, and you were sort of, you know, working in one direction. Did you find a sort of a radical shift? Was there something that, you know, did you look at the work that you've been creating in a different way? Did you think, gosh, you know, the meaning is escaping me now, and was your attention then divided? How was that sort of moment for you when you saw the world kind of just shift so radically? What was that shift like in your own head and in your own process?
I actually, since getting sick and then getting better and then being shut down again by the pandemic, it changed my creative process and my purpose as an artist. Actually, it's been something very powerful. Actually, I feel that the new direction in my work now is healing, is it's to put into here, like the abstract noun, like those things that we cannot define, like those feelings. Like I'm working right now into two pieces, is fear and hope, and how the dichotomy. And so to me, this, yes, it has shifted my entire work, my entire being, actually, my entire purpose as an artist, because I believe that as artists, we are here to make this world like a more beautiful place, like an healing, just healing. I don't know. I don't know why, but it's been the message that I've been getting.
Yeah. I can understand that. Was there anybody else who had that sort of experience where it was just this huge, just kind of shift, you know?
I was stuck on my sofa. I could not, for 9 months, I could not create. It was over.
Oh,
you know, it was done. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, El.
Can't take it for granted.
Maybe on that same thing, I can ask Rolf Akers. Hi, Rolf Akers. Can you tell us about working light and dark within photography? Can you unmute yourself? You have to unmute yourself.
I thought I had. Okay. Am I on now?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I posted on Facebook a recap of the initial opening reception and my performance during the explanation, and I hope you read it. The photographs that I chose for this exhibit were taken entirely. The one on the left was taken maybe 4 years ago, 5 years, something like that. And the one on the right was taken this year. And they both have elements of light, they both have elements of dark, but the feeling of them is entirely different. The one on the left is like a taking away of my spouse when she was having emergency surgery. The photograph on the right was my spouse, my spice, after she recovered. And they're two, I chose them because they encapsulated for me what this period of time was like. Having something taken away, having something given back. And that's sort of the way I felt during this whole pandemic process during the past year and a half for us.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, Roberto. Thank you for telling us about your process as well. I see Lee has her hand raised. Lee, you have a question or a comment?
No, I was gonna, I don't know, did I unmute myself? Yeah. Hi, yeah, no, I wanted to share a bit about the question about the process. I also produced, created that piece Red that's in the show. And just the process was really like such a unfolding. I think at first, I had started this piece prior to the pandemic. And I think it was very light and very airy at one point. And then as things different sort of patterns and shapes on top of it. And so just to, it has been such a healing, just much like what the artists are saying, it was a healing process for me. I think the red as well, like for me, represented the pain that I was seeing, just in terms of everything that was happening around the world. And I couldn't get red out of my head. And so really took on that and that color. And so I just wanted to share that because it kind of resonated with me, what I was hearing everybody else share.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Leah Cadiz. We have a question in the chat for Wilhelmina. Wilhelmina, James is asking if you actually looked for a rusted chain to incorporate into your piece.
Yes, actually I did. And I actually had it, but it took me a while to locate it. I have a number of chains that I have found in the street, different widths and different lengths. And there's a process that I use to make things rusty, but that one was already rusty. It just happened to have the letters US on it, as in it's down in the lower left-hand corner. If you look closely, it says US. And I thought that was just perfect for the piece. But I had it all along. I just had not located it in the numerous bins and boxes of objects that I collect and that I continue to collect over the years. And the rust represents the age and how long it's been since these two subjects in the piece have lived, and the struggles, and that they were in one of them was enslaved and the other had some was jailed actually for doing work toward voter registration. So they had a very similar experience, parallel experience, 100 years apart.
Wonderful. Thank you, Wilhelmina. I have a question for Selena. Selena, are you here? I wanted to ask you about your process because you spoken word, which is a totally different process, I suppose, than the visual arts. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how the in and out dark and light theme?
Sure. Hi, everybody. So for me, for everyone, this year has been trying. For me in particular, it just has hit me mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally. And so as a result of that, I'm used to being light for people, for the people in my life. I like to think of my pieces as spreading light to those who see them. And this year really tested that light for me. It really tested my resolve. It really tested the positive place I'm in for the most part. I'm a positive person, but this year, whoa. And so I felt artistically stunted as a result. I'm here in the house. I'm used to being out, as most of us are used to being out. And this time I'm home, I'm with the kids, I'm a mom, I'm a teacher, I'm this, I'm that. And so with all that, I felt like I couldn't focus my brain to come up with a piece. And so